The spring season had filled London with elegant balls, glittering charity galas, and endless opportunities for the aristocracy to display wealth and refinement. Crystal chandeliers illuminated magnificent halls, while finely dressed ladies and gentlemen exchanged polite smiles beneath ceilings painted with scenes of ancient heroes. Among the invited guests that evening was 22-year-old Sophia Bennett, the daughter of a respectable textile merchant whose business had recently begun to struggle. Though her family lacked noble ancestry, they possessed honesty, education, and quiet dignity. Sophia wore a modest pale blue gown carefully sewn by her own hands, proving that grace did not always depend upon expensive jewels or fashionable titles. Her father, Thomas Bennett, had accepted an invitation to the charity gala because he hoped to secure new business relationships that might rescue his declining textile mill. The industrial changes sweeping across Britain had placed tremendous pressure on smaller manufacturers. While many merchants worried only about profits, Thomas believed quality and fairness mattered equally. Sophia admired him deeply and willingly accompanied him, hoping her cheerful spirit would ease the burdens he quietly carried every day. As they entered the grand ballroom, whispers floated gently through the crowd. Noble families discussed politics, investments, and marriages that would strengthen ancient alliances. Sophia felt slightly out of place, yet she remained composed. Her father had always reminded her that good manners, kindness, and intelligence were treasures no fortune could purchase. She smiled warmly whenever introduced to strangers, asking thoughtful questions rather than seeking attention for herself. Before long, the evening's most admired gentleman arrived. Duke Adrian Ashford, 30 years old, carried himself with effortless confidence earned through generations of privilege. Tall, handsome, and impeccably dressed, he possessed an easy smile that charmed nearly everyone he met. Although admired for his education and generosity toward charitable causes, Adrian also carried the invisible weight of family expectations. His widowed mother frequently reminded him that every decision reflected centuries of noble tradition. Their first meeting happened unexpectedly near a display showcasing donations for children's schools. Sophia paused to examine several books intended for village libraries when Adrian approached, believing she was another patron interested in education. They soon discovered a shared love for literature, history, and the future of Britain's growing industries. Instead of speaking only about fashionable society, Sophia discussed modern textile machinery, fair treatment of workers, and the importance of innovation. Adrian listened with genuine surprise. Few ladies of his acquaintance possessed such practical knowledge or sincere concern for ordinary families. Throughout the following months, they crossed paths repeatedly at charity events, lectures, and gatherings hosted by mutual acquaintances. Their conversations became the moments Sophia anticipated most. Adrian admired her honesty because she never flattered his title or sought favors from his position. She challenged his opinions respectfully, making him reconsider ideas he had accepted without question. In return, Adrian shared stories about managing his vast estate and preserving historic traditions. Together they laughed easily, discovering comfort in one another's company despite the differences separating their worlds. Gradually, Sophia's admiration blossomed into quiet love. She never imagined herself becoming a duchess because such dreams seemed far beyond reach. Yet Adrian's kindness encouraged hope she had never permitted herself to entertain. Whenever they parted after an evening together, she carried his thoughtful words home like treasured keepsakes. Thomas noticed the gentle happiness brightening his daughter's face, but offered no warnings. He believed character mattered far more than birth and trusted Adrian's apparent sincerity. Unfortunately, others viewed the growing friendship very differently. During private dinners inside Ashford House, Adrian's mother and influential relatives voiced increasing concern. They acknowledged Sophia's respectable upbringing, but insisted that centuries of family honor demanded a bride with noble ancestry. They feared newspapers would criticize the match and rival families would question the Ashford legacy. Although Adrian quietly defended Sophia's intelligence and kindness, constant pressure gradually weakened his confidence. He convinced himself that duty required painful sacrifices, even when his heart hesitated. One quiet afternoon in Hyde Park, Sophia finally gathered the courage to speak honestly. The blooming flowers surrounding the walking paths seemed filled with promise as she thanked Adrian for the friendship they had shared. Before fear could silence her, she admitted that she had come to care for him deeply and believed they could build a meaningful future together. Adrian lowered his eyes, struggling with emotions he had long tried to ignore. After a painful silence, he answered gently, "Miss Bennett, you are kind, intelligent, and admirable, but you are too ordinary to become the Duchess of Ashford. My family would never accept such a marriage, and I cannot abandon the responsibilities placed upon me." His words struck Sophia like a cold winter wind. Tears threatened to fall, yet she refused to let heartbreak steal her dignity. She thanked him for his honesty, wished him happiness, and walked away without another word. That evening, after returning home, she embraced her grieving father and quietly declared, "If the world measures worth by titles, I shall build a name no title can surpass." The very next morning, Sophia left London beside her father, determined to save their failing textile mill and create a future defined not by rejection, but by purpose, perseverance, and unwavering self-belief. 10 years passed, carrying Britain through an age of remarkable invention, expanding trade, and sweeping industrial change. While many aristocratic families continued relying upon inherited fortunes, Sophia Bennett embraced every new opportunity that hard work and careful study could provide. The pain of her rejection gradually transformed into quiet determination. Rather than allowing disappointment to define her future, she poured every ounce of energy into rebuilding her father's struggling textile business. Each sunrise marked another chance to learn, improve, and move one step closer to the promise she had made on the night she left London. The Bennett mill had been small, outdated, and burdened by debts. Many neighboring factories had already closed their doors, unable to compete with larger manufacturers using modern machinery. Sophia refused to surrender. She spent months studying production methods, consulting experienced engineers, and visiting successful mills throughout northern England. Every lesson strengthened her confidence. Instead of fearing change, she welcomed it. New weaving machines increased efficiency without sacrificing quality, while better organization reduced waste and improved productivity throughout the workshops. Thomas Bennett watched with quiet pride as his daughter introduced ideas many businessmen had dismissed. Sophia believed success depended not only upon machinery, but also upon people. She improved working conditions by ensuring clean workshops, proper ventilation, and reasonable schedules. She established a small school where workers' children received lessons during the day and created a fund to assist families facing illness or unexpected hardship. Employees responded with loyalty, dedication, and genuine affection. Productivity increased because workers knew they were respected rather than merely employed. As orders multiplied, Sophia expanded beyond textile manufacturing. She recognized that controlling transportation would reduce costs and create new opportunities. Using carefully managed profits instead of reckless borrowing, she invested in warehouses near Liverpool and negotiated partnerships with reliable shipping companies. Before long, Bennett Textiles reached customers across Europe. Merchants praised the consistent quality of her fabrics, while business partners admired her honesty during negotiations. Every agreement strengthened the reputation of the Bennett name. Sophia refused to chase wealth for its own sake. She believed prosperity carried responsibility. Whenever profits exceeded expectations, she reinvested in improvements benefiting both the company and surrounding communities. New housing for workers replaced overcrowded cottages. Scholarships helped promising young apprentices continue their education. Donations supported hospitals, libraries, and orphanages throughout industrial towns. Newspapers began publishing stories about the remarkable businesswoman whose success never diminished her compassion. Soon people affectionately referred to her as the Lady of Industry. Financial institutions that had once ignored the Bennets now eagerly competed to finance Sophia's ambitious projects. Leading merchants sought her advice before making investments. Government officials invited her to speak about manufacturing, trade, and economic progress. Though surrounded by influential people, Sophia remained remarkably humble. She still visited factory floors, greeted employees by name, and listened carefully whenever someone suggested improvements. Her quiet confidence inspired admiration because it rested upon genuine ability rather than inherited privilege. By the end of the decade, Bennett Textile and Shipping Company had become one of Britain's largest privately owned enterprises. Elegant offices in London managed international contracts, while busy docks loaded ships carrying fine fabrics across distant markets. Sophia's signature appeared on agreements worth fortunes unimaginable during her youth. Yet every evening she remembered the dusty little mill where her journey had truly begun. The memory reminded her that greatness grew from perseverance, not titles. Far away, life unfolded very differently at Ashford Estate. Duke Adrian had inherited magnificent lands, ancient traditions, and considerable wealth, yet changing times proved unforgiving. Several expensive investments recommended by fashionable advisors failed unexpectedly. Agricultural income declined as markets shifted. Maintaining the enormous estate demanded increasing expenses, while revenues steadily decreased. Adrian's natural generosity prevented him from dismissing loyal servants, but difficult choices became unavoidable. Creditors requested meetings with growing frequency, and portions of the estate required costly repairs that could no longer be postponed. Adrian often wondered whether he had spent too many years protecting appearances instead of embracing practical change. The expectations that once guided every decision now felt strangely hollow. His mother still insisted the Ashford name remained among England's finest, yet noble ancestry could not balance financial ledgers. Watching neighboring estates adopt modern business practices, while his own struggle forced Adrian to question assumptions he had never challenged in his younger years. One autumn morning, Adrian received an invitation to attend a prestigious London conference where industrial leaders, investors, merchants, and landowners would discuss Britain's changing economy. Hoping to secure partnerships that might strengthen Ashford Estate, he accepted. The Grand Assembly Hall buzzed with conversation as influential figures gathered beneath towering windows. Adrian expected familiar aristocrats and seasoned financiers. He never imagined the person everyone seemed eager to meet would be Sophia Bennett. When she entered the hall, conversations paused almost instinctively. Distinguished businessmen stood respectfully. Prominent bankers greeted her with warm smiles. Members of Parliament requested opportunities to speak with her after the conference. Sophia wore an elegant deep green gown tailored with tasteful simplicity, accompanied by quiet confidence that required no jewels to command attention. She carried herself with the calm assurance of someone who had earned every measure of respect surrounding her. Adrian stared in astonishment. The shy young woman he had once called ordinary had become one of the most admired figures in British commerce. During her presentation, Sophia spoke about innovation, fair employment, responsible investment, and expanding international trade. Every word reflected wisdom gained through experience rather than privilege. Listening from the audience, Adrian finally understood the cost of the choice he had made 10 years earlier. As applause filled the hall, he whispered beneath his breath, I did not lose an ordinary woman. I lost an extraordinary one. The conference remained the talk of London for several days, but no conversation lingered longer in Duke Adrian Ashford's mind than the sight of Sophia Bennett standing before Britain's most influential business leaders. Her confidence, wisdom, and quiet dignity had filled the Grand Hall far more completely than any noble title ever could. For the first time in many years, Adrian saw his past with painful clarity. He had believed he was protecting his family's honor, yet he had sacrificed the opportunity to build a life beside a remarkable woman. Regret settled heavily upon his heart, refusing to disappear no matter how he tried to silence it. Over the following weeks, Adrian requested several opportunities to meet Sophia regarding business matters affecting Ashford Estate. She agreed with calm professionalism, treating him with the same courtesy she extended to every respectable gentleman. There was no bitterness in her voice, no desire to embarrass him for his past decision, and no lingering sadness visible upon her face. Time had given her something far more valuable than revenge. It had given her peace. Their first meeting took place inside Sophia's London office overlooking the busy streets below. Shelves filled with ledgers, shipping maps, and trade agreements surrounded the spacious room. Adrian could not help noticing that every success displayed before him had been earned through discipline rather than inheritance. After discussing possible transportation arrangements for agricultural goods, silence gradually settled between them. Adrian understood that practical business alone could no longer hide the true reason he had come. Taking a slow breath, he looked directly into Sophia's eyes. "There is something I should have said many years ago," he admitted quietly. "I wronged you. I allowed fear, pride, and family expectations to outweigh honesty. I convinced myself that tradition mattered more than character, and I deeply regret that choice." Sophia listened without interrupting. Her expression remained thoughtful rather than cold. "I have carried those words with me for a long time," Adrian continued. "Not because I blamed you, but because I finally understood what they revealed about me. You deserved respect, and instead I measured your worth by ancestry. I am sincerely sorry." Sophia offered a gentle smile. "Thank you, Your Grace. A sincere apology requires courage, and I appreciate your honesty." Her gracious response surprised Adrian. He had expected anger or resentment. Instead, he found kindness untouched by bitterness. During the following months, their paths crossed several more times through charitable events and commercial discussions. Adrian observed how Sophia treated everyone with equal respect, whether speaking with factory workers, investors, or members of parliament. She listened carefully before making decisions, encouraged young entrepreneurs, and quietly funded educational programs without seeking public praise. Every encounter deepened Adrian's admiration. He realized the qualities he had once overlooked had become the foundation of her extraordinary success. Meanwhile, Adrian began changing the management of Ashford Estate. Inspired by Sophia's example, he modernized farming methods, repaired neglected buildings, and introduced fairer agreements for tenant families. Instead of relying solely upon inherited customs, he welcomed practical improvements and sought advice from experienced professionals. Progress came slowly, yet each improvement restored hope among those living and working on his lands. Adrian gradually discovered that true leadership required humility far more than prestige. One crisp autumn afternoon, Adrian invited Sophia to walk through the gardens surrounding Ashford Manor. The ancient trees glowed with golden leaves, and the quiet paths reminded them both of simpler days before disappointment had changed their lives. They spoke about the passing years, shared memories of their early conversations, and reflected upon how differently they now viewed the world. Finally, Adrian stopped beneath an old oak tree. "Sophia," he said softly, "there was a time when I believed titles determined a person's value. You proved how mistaken I was. Everything you have achieved fills me with admiration. I know I cannot erase the pain I caused, but if there is any possibility of beginning again, I would consider it the greatest blessing of my life." He paused before continuing. "Will you do me the honor of becoming my wife?" The question hung quietly in the cool afternoon air. Sophia looked at him with genuine compassion. Years earlier, those words would have fulfilled every dream she possessed. Now they stirred no longing, only gratitude for the journey that had shaped her into the woman she had become. After a thoughtful silence, she answered gently, "Your Grace, thank you for your honesty and your kindness. Long ago I forgave you. Carrying resentment would only have burdened my own heart." Adrian listened without speaking. "You once rejected the woman I was," Sophia continued calmly. "I will not marry the man you have become." The words were neither cruel nor triumphant. They carried only quiet truth. "I once believed happiness depended upon earning your acceptance," she said, "but life taught me something far greater. My worth never depended upon a title, a marriage, or another person's approval. I built a meaningful life through purpose, perseverance, and faith in myself. I cannot leave that life behind simply because circumstances have changed." Adrian lowered his head, accepting her decision with dignity. "You owe me nothing," Sophia added kindly. "Your apology has given us both peace. Continue rebuilding your estate with wisdom and compassion. That will become your finest legacy." They parted with mutual respect instead of sorrow. In the years that followed, Ashford Estate slowly regained stability under Adrian's thoughtful leadership. He became known as a fair landlord who valued education, innovation, and responsible stewardship. Sophia continued expanding Bennett Textile and Shipping Company while funding schools, hospitals, libraries, and apprenticeship programs throughout England. Young women found inspiration in her example, realizing that courage, intelligence, and determination could shape destinies once thought impossible. Standing outside the original Bennett mill beside her father one peaceful evening, Sophia watched workers return home smiling after an honest day's labor. She understood at last that the greatest victories were not won through revenge or recognition, but through becoming the person hardship had quietly prepared her to be. Her name, built through character rather than inheritance, would endure for generations, proving that true nobility is earned by the choices one makes, never merely by the family into which one is born.